The court was cold. Not just in temperature, but in silence, in feeling, in everything. No one spoke. No one dared. The walls of the Galactic Union's highest chamber were made of black crystal, smooth like ice, sharp like knives. The lights were dim, casting long shadows on the faces of the council. At the center of the room stood a human. Alone, shackled. His name was Corin Black. He was from Earth, a soldier, a captain, a survivor. He had no weapons, no armor, just a torn uniform, and a fresh cut above his brow. Still, his eyes were calm, not angry, not afraid. Just waiting. Across from him sat the Union Council 12 members, each from a species older than stars. Some had lived for thousands of years. One had watched galaxies form and break. They ruled everything. They feared nothing, except now. They feared him. A voice finally spoke. It came from a creature known as Ezerkol, leader of the immortal Lanther race. His skin was like silver smoke. His mouth moved slowly, carefully, as if each word weighed a mountain. "Human, do you fear death?" The question echoed across the court. The words were translated instantly into every tongue. Across the galaxy, beings watched the trial on screens. Billions waited for the answer. Corin didn't speak at first. He tilted his head, smiled, and then he said simply, "No, I respect it. But I don't fear it." A deep silence followed. Some members of the council blinked, others froze. One whispered something to his assistant and looked around nervously. That one answer broke something, not a law, a belief, a truth the galaxy thought was solid. The Lanther believed death was the ultimate enemy. Other species hid in machines to stay alive forever. Some swapped bodies. Some froze themselves for centuries. They believed only the young or foolish would face death without fear. But here stood a human who looked into the eyes of the oldest races in the galaxy and said, "No, later." That night, in a cold side room of the court, 2 guards stood near Corin's cell. They spoke in whispers, thinking the human could not hear. "He is lying. No being is unafraid of death," one said. "A frog-like creature with 6 eyes. Then why didn't his heart rate change?" The other replied, looking at a scanner. "Why didn't he sweat, blink fast, show signs of panic?" Corin sat on the floor, eyes closed, listening. He remembered Earth. He remembered fire and ash. The first contact had been peaceful. Humans joined the Galactic Union with curiosity. They shared art, food, jokes. They laughed with new friends. Then came the resource war. Humans were told to give up their oceans, to mine their mountains. When they said no, the Union sent ships. Earth answered with silence, and then fire. They called humans violent. But they never asked why humans fought. They never understood what humans lost. The next day, Corin was brought back into the court. The judge, a glass-skinned creature named Veltarn, looked down. "You speak of respecting death. Explain." Corin looked up at her. "Death is part of life," he said. "It makes time matter. It makes love stronger. It makes courage real. But it is an end. Yes, that's why we live fully." A whisper ran through the court. Vilvistarn tried again. "You would throw your life away for meaning?" Corin nodded. "Sometimes the only way to protect life is to risk it." He told them a story of a human nurse during Earth's last war. The nurse stayed behind when a hospital was under attack. She saved 40 children before the building collapsed. She died with a smile. She knew the risk, Corin said. She didn't want to die, but she knew something greater than fear. Ezerkol leaned forward. Why? Why would she choose death? Corin looked right at him. Because love is stronger. Again, silence. The words weren't loud, but they shook the room. That night, across the galaxy, people talked. On the mining world of Trellis 5, a young alien mother looked at her baby and whispered, "Would I face death for you?" On the moon Gurin, a soldier stared at his weapon. and asked, "Why do I fight?" In the deep station of Yarnak, a dying scientist recorded one last message. "I understand now. It was never about war. It was about choice." Everywhere, the question echoed, "Don't you fear death?" But in one place deep beneath a sealed vault on the planet Varnak, a creature awoke. His name was Marathil. He had been sealed for 6,000 years. A warlord. A destroyer. A being who once crushed 80 worlds. He had been stopped only when all species united. He watched the trial footage in silence. When Corin spoke those final words, "Love is stronger," Marathil laughed. A dry, ancient laugh. "Then they are the most dangerous of all." His eyes glowed. "Release me. The fire has returned to the stars." Back in the court, the council held secret meetings. Some wanted to execute Corin quietly. Others wanted to study him. A few wanted to talk more. But Corin was not alone anymore. Other humans had heard the trial, and something old had awakened in them. They remembered their stories of warriors, healers, mothers, teachers, rebels, dreamers. All of them knew fear. None of them let it rule them. 1 week later, Corin sat in his cell. He didn't sleep. He waited. A young alien entered. She was small, with golden fur and green eyes. She had no weapons. Just a question. "Is it true? You're not afraid?" Corin looked at her. "We're afraid," he said. "But we don't." "Run." "Why?" He smiled. "Because we know something worth dying for." She blinked. "I want to learn." Corin nodded. "Then you'll learn how to live." On the screens across the galaxy, a human voice now echoed. "We don't seek war. We don't worship death. But if you ask us what it means, we'll show you with how we live." The war didn't start that day, but the galaxy began to change. Some feared humans more. Some wanted to ally with them. Others wanted to silence them forever. But no one ignored them anymore, because one man had smiled at death and said, "No." The crash site was still smoking. Sharp metal, broken beams, and scorched earth surrounded what was once the Union's most advanced battleship, the Crown of Stars. Now, it was nothing but ruins on a silent moon far from any sun. Commander Cirith Vel, an insectoid officer of the Arak, walked carefully through the wreckage. His black armor was covered in dust, his sharp legs clicking as he stepped over twisted frames and burnt wires. This ship wasn't just any ship. It carried human prisoners, a rare and dangerous thing. The Union had finally captured a full squad of Earth's elite Marines. But now, the ship was silent. All were dead, except one. A message had been left written in the human's own blood. On the inner wall, "We do not fear the end." Cirith froze as he read it. He didn't understand. Why write this? Why not beg for help? Why not scream? He looked down at the body of the squad leader, a woman named Sergeant Eva Marlowe. Her hand still held the bloodied piece of metal she had used to write the words. Her eyes were open, looking at nothing, but there was peace in her face. It disturbed him. He turned to his second in command. "Why didn't they escape? They had time." The officer replied, "They stayed. They sealed the bridge to hold off the fire so the crew could evacuate." Cirith looked back at the writing. He shivered for the first time in decades. Far across the galaxy, Corin Black sat in a clean room, no longer a prisoner, but not yet free. His words in the court had traveled fast. Too fast. The galaxy wasn't sure how to react to a species that didn't fear death. Some called him dangerous, others called him inspiring. But one alien general, Drex Talon of the Creel, saw it as a puzzle. His species had once ruled the stars. Through terror, death had been their greatest weapon. Now it didn't work. He needed to understand why. In a hidden lab on Station Veltrax, a strange experiment was prepared. They had captured another human, this time a young pilot named Jace Harlow. They didn't torture him. Not directly. Instead, they tried fear. First, they isolated him. No light, no sound. For days, Then they played false voices of his family. Crying, his friends dying. Then came the fake executions. Simulated pain. Hopeless messages. But Jace didn't break. He laughed. He sang songs. He told jokes to the walls. One night, the alien scientist monitoring him stared at the data and whispered, "Why isn't he afraid?" The lead researcher barked, "Increase. The pressure, he must break. Every being breaks." But Jace only smiled. He spoke to the camera. "You think fear is our weakness. It's not. It's our fuel. We feel it, but we move anyway." The next day, 2 alien assistants quit. They had nightmares of the human's calm voice. Meanwhile, secret reports flooded the Union Council chambers. Human recordings during battles were found. In one, a squad was pinned down, outnumbered 30-1. A soldier named Mira Devlin was wounded. Bleeding heavily. Instead of crying or begging, she sent a message to her mother. "I'm okay, Mom. Just a scratch. Tell Sam he can have my guitar if I don't make it. But I'll see you soon." Then she stood, fired 2 shots, and threw herself in front of the blast. Door to save her squad. The enemy died. She died too. The message was recovered by the enemy who found her body. One of them whispered. They laugh. Near death, they smile at it. Across the galaxy, fear began to shift. Not fear of death. Fear of those who didn't fear it. Union leaders panicked. If death doesn't stop them, what will? On the world of Frixa, an alien broadcast played old human war speeches. One voice said, "We don't want to die, but if we must, we'll make it matter." Millions of young aliens listened. Some cried. Some asked questions their elders couldn't answer. Back on Earth, human leaders didn't celebrate. They knew what was coming. Humanity had always lived with death. Wars, disasters, disease. Time it had taught them that life was short. But now the galaxy was learning that same lesson, and many didn't like it. The Union called a secret meeting. One idea was repeated. We must silence this species. They infect others with madness. The Creel, the Arak, the Silent Methri all agreed. They began planning a strike. Not war. Just control. Just enough fear to make humans back down. They thought it would work. They forgot what Earth had already survived. 1 week later, a human medical ship entered the Haltrax belt. It was unarmed. Full of doctors. It was surrounded by Union warships. A message was sent. Surrender your vessel. For safety. For balance. The human ship replied calmly, "This is a medical ship. We carry no weapons, but we will not stop our mission." The warships fired warning shots. The humans didn't run. Instead, the ship transmitted one more message. You are not the first to try fear. You will not be the last. But understand this. If we stop fearing death, it's because we've already faced it too many times. And we chose to keep moving. The medical ship was destroyed. All aboard died. But not before they saved a refugee. Vessel hidden behind an asteroid. The aliens on that vessel lived and shared the humans' final words. Across 10 systems, people began to whisper. They're not fearless. They're just free. In the silence after the destruction, something else stirred. In the lost vaults of the old ones, a crystal mind reactivated. A weapon from a forgotten time. It had been built to stop unkillable enemies. It woke, and it said, "The humans have crossed the threshold. Death is no longer a limit. Begin Protocol Red." Back at Station Veltrax, Jace Harlow finally spoke directly to the head scientist, face to face. "Do you want to know our secret?" he said. "It's not that we don't feel fear. It's that we love others more than we fear dying." He paused. "You want to control death? We learn to live with it. That's why you'll never break us." The alien said nothing, but that night, he shut down the lab. And left the station. Not because he was afraid of death, but because he was afraid of humans who weren't. The room had no light. No sound. No time. The walls were soft, meant to erase all feeling. The floor felt like fog. The ceiling never ended. To the prisoner, it was like floating in nothing. Private Alex Renner, Earth soldier, age 24, sat alone. No clock. No voice, no food. No mirror, no name. Just silence. This was the hollow room, a secret mental cage built by the Methery, a race that believed the mind was the greatest weapon. No physical harm, just emptiness, meant to crush the spirit. Most aliens broke within hours. Some went mad. Some begged to die. Humans? They hadn't tried one before. Until now. Outside the room, 3 Methery scientists watched from a sealed control pod. Day 4, one said. Still no response. Hasn't screamed, cried, nothing, said the second. Not even talking to herself, said the third. Odd. They increased sensory pressure, flashed lights, whispered voices, played fake sounds of people dying. Alex didn't move. Inside, Alex sat with eyes closed. She was remembering. Not facts. Not instructions. Memories. Her mother's warm hands when she was sick. Her little brother making a puppet out of toast. Her father fixing a broken sink. Water spraying everywhere. Everyone laughing. She laughed now too. It echoed in the hollow room. The scientists panicked. Did she just laugh? They sent in a fake voice. One that sounded like her commander. Alex, they're all gone. You're alone. Give up. Just give up. She smiled. Nice try. He never calls me Alex. Always Private Loudmouth. Another voice. Her mother's. You were too weak, baby. You always were. A tear rolled down her cheek. But her smile didn't break. That's not what she'd say. She'd say, I love you even now. She lay back and whispered, you're gonna need better lies. By day 7, the scientists were frustrated. This should not be possible. She should be broken. Begin Stage Omega. Stage Omega meant reality collapse simulation. They'd make her think Earth had died. Her mind was melting, and even her body didn't exist. But the system failed, because Alex did something strange. She stood up. And danced. To no music. Just her own rhythm. Her own beat. She twirled. She moved. She laughed like a child in the rain. Back in the control pod, the lead Methery whispered, she's creating her own reality. Inside ours, she's turning madness into strength. One of them stood up and left. Said he would never work again. Alex finally spoke to the ceiling. You think darkness will break me? We come from a planet where people live alone, in the cold, far from family, and still sing songs. We come from a world where mothers bury their sons and still cook dinner for the village. You think silence scares us? We made music in silence. On day 9, they gave up. She was still sane, still strong, stronger than ever. They dragged her out half-starved, weak, dirty. She looked them in the eyes. Was that your best? They didn't speak. She grinned. Next time, try fire. At least it's warm. Word of her resistance reached General Drex Talon. He stared at the report, stunned. Not broken. Not even bent. Then he read her final note. She had scratched it into the hollow room's wall using her fingernail. We don't fight because we hate you. We fight because we love what you'll never understand. Back on Earth, Alex was rescued 2 months later. She returned home to Cheers. But she didn't speak about the hollow room. Not much. Only once. To a young cadet who asked, weren't you afraid? She smiled and said, yes, but I didn't let fear drive. I just sat with it and waited for it to leave. The hollow room was shut down. The Methery burned the design. Not from mercy. From fear. But it wasn't just fear of humans now. It was fear of what they couldn't control. And something else stirred in the dark corners of the galaxy. A forgotten being watched the trial records again. Watched Alex's dance, her smile, her refusal to break. It spoke softly. It begins, the fire in the soul. They cannot be ruled. And the stars whispered, something ancient is waking. On a mining colony in deep space, a boy carved 3 words into the wall of his room after watching the human trials. We wait smiling. His parents didn't understand, but the boy did, because something in him, something quiet, deep. Human was changing. You can lock a body, you can close a mouth, you can starve the flesh, but the human will? It keeps walking, even through silence, even through the void, even through death. Asterisk. The colony was dead. No alarms, no lights, no sound. Just dust, scorched buildings, and one word burned into metal walls. Riembier, Captain Devak, of the Solari species, stood in the middle of the silent colony square. His eyes, long and narrow, scanned the ruins. Behind him, soldiers stepped carefully. None spoke. They were all trained for war, but now they were nervous. Where are the bodies? One asked. There should be hundreds, said another. This colony had over 9,000 beings. They found no one, only melted weapons, half-burned flags. Ash in the shape of handprints, and that one word, written again and again, Arian B. Sudus earlier. This place was known as Colony Virith 12, a Union base built after the Resource War. It held a prison where humans were once tortured for information. After the war, the prisoners were forgotten. Left behind. Forgotten by the Union. Not by Earth. In a dark war room on Earth, Commander Rena Caldwell had received an encrypted message. Simple. One sentence. We found where they kept them. She didn't ask for permission. She activated Protocol Ember, a special force of 12 humans, all survivors of the prison camps, boarded a Black Ops ship called the Silent Wing. They did not go to fight. They went to end it. Colony Virith 12 never had a chance. The Silent Wing appeared above the colony like a ghost. No warning. No call. The human soldiers landed in silence. No symbols. No flag. Only black armor and red fire in their eyes. They moved fast. Precise. They shut down communications first. Then power. Then the guards. One survivor later said, they weren't soldiers. They were memories come alive. By morning, nothing moved. No screams. No mercy. Only ash. The Union tried to lie, called it a mining accident, said no one attacked, but images leaked. Walls burned with human symbols. A voice message cut off halfway played across comes. They're here. They're not speaking. They're just looking at us. Then silence across the galaxy. Fear spread, but it wasn't loud fear. It was quiet. Uneasy. Like waiting for a storm you can't see but feel in your bones. The council met in secret. One asked, why are they doing this? Another whispered, they remember. The oldest member, a Methari with 1,000 years of memory, said only, they warned us. Back on Earth, Rena sat alone in her office, watching the message from Colony Virith 12 play again. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just whispered, we don't want war. But if they make us remember, we'll make them understand. In a bar on the planet Yazari, an alien pilot told a story. He'd once flown with humans. Said they joked too much, ate strange food, loved loud music, but he remembered one night, during a meteor storm, when their ship almost died, the human engineer, a small woman with big eyes, had said calmly, if this is it, at least I'm not alone. She fixed the engine, burned half her body doing it, saved everyone. He never forgot her words. Now that pilot stared at the footage from VIRETH-12, he whispered, they don't fight for power. They fight because they've lost too much. The Union made a mistake. They thought humans fought like them, for territory, for pride. But humans fight for something older. Memory. Justice. Each other. A young alien girl named Sally lived on a neutral moon station. Her teacher played a human, broadcast as a warning, but Sally didn't feel fear. She felt wonder. The humans were not monsters. They were fire. controlled, slow burning until something tried to smother it. Then, "It raged." She whispered. "They remember so we don't forget." The 12 humans from the Silent Wing returned to Earth. Quiet, wounded, not. All came back, but those who did left a message on the walls of Earth's War Academy. Never again forgotten. Never again silent. High above, a listening station picked up a strange signal. 3 human ships entered a quiet zone near the old Dreadstar ruins, where the galaxy once lost an ancient war. The signal they sent? Just 2 words: "We're watching." In a distant cell, still in the Galactic Union's deepest court, Corin Black received a note. No sender. No seal. Just the word, "Remember." He smiled for the first time in weeks. In a lost part of space, a being of dust and shadow known only in myths opened its eyes. It had once watched a million species rise and fall. Now it watched Earth. It spoke no words, but it felt something it hadn't in eons. Fire. Not of stars, but of hearts. The galaxy had called Earth quiet once. Tamed. Civilized. But they forgot what was buried deep inside humanity. Not rage, not hate, but a promise. We remember our dead, and we will not let them be lost in silence. A fleet of 72 Union ships surrounded a single human vessel. It was called the Vigil Dawn, a medium-sized carrier. Old design, not heavily armed. Inside it, only a few hundred human crew worked quietly. No reinforcements were nearby. Number. Weapons charged. The Union ships opened. Comes. "This is Admiral Corrail of the Galactic Union. You are surrounded. Surrender. This is mercy." Silence. Then a voice replied from the human ship. Calm, clear, male. "You don't get to offer mercy. After what you've done." A pause. "You burned our colonies, tortured our people, buried them in numbers, not names. And now you beg us to stop?" The comms cut off. On board the Vigil Dawn, Captain Mayra Lynn stood on the command deck. She looked through the front glass at the massive enemy fleet. Her crew waited for orders. She gave only one. "Activate the recorders. Let history remember this." 3 days earlier, Earth received a broadcast. A human refugee ship had been destroyed in the Kebrel Zone. No survivors, no weapons. Just families running from Union conflict zones. No warning. No trial. No reason. Just death. And the Union called it a mistake. Earth sent one message back: "We are not at war. But you have chosen silence over truth, action over peace, death over justice." In the skies above the gas planet Eurenthos, a Union base exploded. No human ships were detected nearby, yet the only surviving building had these words carved into its wall: "We warned you." Across neutral systems, Union leaders met in fear. Their generals couldn't explain what was happening. They don't move in fleets, they move in shadows. We outnumber them 10-1, yet we keep losing. They leave nothing but silence and memory. Some pushed for more weapons. Some wanted surrender. One alien admiral, old, wise, tired, whispered, "It's not just war anymore. They're teaching us something." Back on the Vigil Dawn, Mayra watched as Union ships began powering up their weapons. She didn't panic. She turned to her comms officer. "Send them our terms." The message was simple: "Leave or we will not hold back." The Union laughed. One commander replied, "You are one ship. We are 72. You are surrounded." Mayra smiled. "We are human." Then she whispered, "Begin Protocol Valkyrie." From hidden panels, the Vigil Dawn opened its true face. Dozens of silent drones launched. They carried no explosives, only pulse disruptors made to blind and confuse. The Union ships, though stronger, suddenly lost all visibility, targeting, and communications. The sky turned black. Then the silent fleet arrived. 10 Earth-class stealth warships, cloaked behind the planet's magnetic belt, dropped into position. Fast. Deadly. Merciless. In 15 minutes. 40 Union ships were disabled. 10 more exploded. The rest stopped fighting. They begged. Inside the Union flagship, Admiral Carril tried to send a final order. We surrender. Please stop. But the humans didn't destroy the rest. They simply stopped attacking, left them alive, and broadcast one message to the entire galaxy. We did not come for war. You brought it to our door. Now you ask for mercy, but you never gave it. We will stop when you remember what you've done. Across the stars, alien children watched human soldiers kneel beside graves, both alien and human, and whisper names. They didn't dance in victory. They didn't cheer. They stood in silence. Then walked away. In the city of Thrailmore, an alien historian updated his archives. He deleted the file labeled Primitive Warrior Species Human. He created a new one. Guardians of Memory, he spoke to his class. They don't fight because they love war. They fight because they remember pain, and they carry that weight. In a small camp on a ruined world, a human medic sat beside an alien child one who had lost everything in a Union strike. The child cried. The medic handed her a blanket. We know how this feels. That's why we don't stop. Later, the Galactic Union sent envoys to Earth. Not with threats, but with requests. Please, what do you want? Earth answered with one message: names. They sent a list of the dead. Say them, remember them, build memorials, and never again forget what you've done. In deep space, an old alien general retired. He had fought humans in the early days. He watched the footage from the Vigil Dawn and whispered, "They gave us a chance to be better. We refused. Now they remind us." In a prison somewhere still unknown, Corin Black smiled as he watched the news feeds. The galaxy was finally listening. Not because Earth shouted, but because Earth never forgot. On a new human monument on the moon, children placed flowers. It held no weapons. No flags. Just names. So many names. And one sentence: when they begged us to stop, we answered, "We only ask that you remember." It began beneath ice. Deep under Antarctica, in a sealed human vault from the old Earth Wars, a machine woke up. Its screen flickered for the first time in 100 years. A voice played. Old, calm, human. If you're hearing this, the galaxy has learned nothing. A second voice followed, younger, female, strong. This is Protocol Zero, the last Death World protocol. This is not revenge. This is protection. You didn't listen when we offered peace. So now we show you what a Death World really means. 2 weeks earlier, the Galactic Union launched Operation Silence. It was their final answer to Earth. Not an invasion, but a shutdown. EMP strikes. Communication, blackouts, targeted power disruptions. They thought they could turn Earth off. Like flipping a switch. At first, it worked. Lights died, satellites fell, Earth went dark. The galaxy cheered. Into the ground opened. And the vaults woke up. Beneath the surface of Earth were machines no alien had ever seen. Black steel guardians, sub-zero defense swarms, Firebarn. Towers built to survive solar flares. All built centuries ago, not to conquer space, but to defend humanity from itself. They were locked away after the last Earth War, when humans promised never to unleash them again. But the Union's silence changed everything. One by one, the protocols came online. Back in orbit, Union ships picked up a strange new signal. It wasn't a distress call. It was a countdown. On board the Union flagship, Admiral Talon Vresh watched Earth's dark surface shift. What are they doing? They're blind, powerless. Then he saw it. A light. Red. From Antarctica. Then 5 more. Then 50. Then the entire ice cap cracked, exploded, and what rose into the sky wasn't a rocket. It was a tower, floating, spinning, glowing with energy too old to explain. It fired a pulse, not a weapon, a message. You attacked our surface. You shut off our satellites. But you forgot we come from the only death world that grew itself. You forgot Earth lives underground. The towers activated Protocol 0. And across the planet, buried machines came alive. Factories under deserts, ships under oceans. AI, mines sleeping under mountain ranges. All built to restart Earth if it ever died. Now, they weren't just restarting. They were watching the sky. The Union panicked. They called back fleets. They sent peace offers. They said it was a misunderstanding. Earth said nothing. Instead, the Silent Fleet reappeared, not to attack, but to rescue. Alien civilians. Slaves. Children left behind. The Silent Fleet picked them up, healed them, gave them food. And told them the truth. One Methri refugee asked a human captain, "Why help us after what our people did?" The human replied, "Because not all of you forgot who we were. Because someone has to remember. And we were built to remember everything." In the ancient vaults of Mars, another system came online. Chrono. Recorders machines that held the true history of Earth's past wars. They began broadcasting. To every system, every screen. They told the story that Union had tried to erase. How humans tried peace. How they were pushed. How they warned. And how they were attacked again and again. A child on the planet X's4 watched the broadcast. He asked his father, "Are humans angry?" The father replied, "No, son, they're awake." Corin Black, still locked in the Union's highest prison, received a small screen. No guards came in. No words spoken, just a single clip. Antarctica burning, white in light. Towers rising. The last protocol active. He nodded once, then whispered. They finally listened. The Union called another emergency meeting. Panic ruled the room. "We cannot match this tech. How many of these systems do they have? How long has this been hidden?" But the real question came from the youngest council member. Why didn't they use it before? Silence, until one voice answered. Because they believed we could change. Earth's final message came in a simple, steady human voice. This is not war. This is the awakening of memory. This is your second chance to choose peace. And then nothing. No attack. No demand. Just Earth lit again. Not in chaos. In purpose. On a distant moon. An alien scholar updated her records. She wrote, "Humans are not just survivors of a death world. They are the builders of hope in the face of silence." Protocol 0 was not a threat. It was a reminder. We pushed them to forget who they were. They answered by remembering. The vaults of Earth never slept again. They stayed. Awake. Not to destroy, but to watch. To remind the galaxy, you can push humanity down. You can drown their cities. Cut off their power. Silence their voice. But deep in the roots of their world, they are always ready, not for war, for justice. Last Death World Protocol was never about ending others. It was about never letting others end. Earth again. The immortals watched from above, from silver palaces floating beyond time, the Vakari. Elders had ruled the galaxy without ever lifting a weapon. They had no armies. They had no need. They simply existed forever. They observed the rise and fall of species, like stars blinking on and off. Death never touched them. War never reached them. Emotion never moved them. Until now the Vakari had ignored Earth for centuries. Primitive, temporary, loud. Even during the resource wars, they watched from afar, silent and amused. When the Union started losing control of human actions, the Vakari gave only one command. Observe, but do not interfere. They will fade. But humans didn't fade. They burned brighter. And now the fires reached even the Vakari skies. It started when Protocol 0 sent a ripple through ancient networks once thought untouchable. Vaults buried in deep code, unreachable by anyone, were cracked open by Earth's old II. Not to hack. Not to steal. Just to share. Information. Footage. Truth. One by one. Secrets the Vakari kept hidden for thousands of years were released to the galaxy. The galaxy learned what the immortals never wanted anyone to know. They had once been mortal. They had feared death. So they escaped it by uploading themselves into crystal mines, leaving their bodies behind. In doing so, they became something else. Cold. Disconnected. Unfeeling. Unliving. And now, the humans reminded the galaxy what it meant to feel. To choose love, even with death near. To fight not because of hate, but because of memory. And that terrified the immortals. One elder, named Vale Rin, stared at the recordings of Earth's reawakening with what could only be called confusion. He turned to the other elders. They do not fear what we escaped. They walk through pain with open eyes. We erased death. They learn to live with it. Another elder replied, they are unstable. That is all. But Vale Rin whispered, no, they are complete. On the 9th moon of Telvaris, where the Vakari once ruled over thousands of scholars, something strange happened. The statue of the first immortal was torn down. Not by humans, by the Telvari. Children. They carried flags with Earth's old quote. To live is to risk. To love is to remember. To die is not to vanish. The teachers cried, not in anger. In awakening. The Vakari could not stop it. The truth had infected the stars. Whole species began to refuse offers of immortality. Young minds chose life over perfect safety. One species, the crystalline heavens, even shut down their memory cores, choosing to live full lives and pass on. They said, we would rather shine once than flicker forever. A Vakari elder, once worshipped as a god, stepped into the light on a broadcast station. For the first time in 7,000 years, he spoke to the galaxy. He looked tired. Afraid. Humans have brought death back into focus. And with it, something we lost, meaning. On Earth, humans didn't celebrate. They kept building. Quietly. Steadily. Helping. Where others had hurt, their soldiers delivered medicine to old enemy planets. Their engineers repaired power grids. One human child gave her blanket to a freezing alien baby and said, you can have mine. No cameras. No orders. Just kindness. The Vakari elders gathered once more. They now debated not how to stop humanity, but how to understand them. They are dangerous, one said. Yes, replied another, but only to our comfort. They remind us that to live is to choose. And we have not chosen anything in 10,000 years. Far away, in a crystal temple, a young Vakari broke their neural link to the eternal network, chose flesh, chose time, chose death. They smiled and whispered, I want to feel before I fade. And so the immortals, once proud, silent, and untouched, felt something they had not in a very long time. Fear. Not of destruction, but of change. Of remembering what it meant to be alive. And deep in a sealed chamber, older than all the others, one forgotten Vakari watched the stars through crystal glass. He said nothing. He had stayed offline for millennia, refusing immortality. But now, he sent a message to Earth. It only 2 words. Thank you. Because, in teaching the galaxy to fear death again, humanity reminded them all what it meant to truly live. The galaxy had changed, not in fire. Not in blood, but in thought. For the first time in 1,000 years, species across the stars paused, not to fight, not to flee, but to ask, what are we doing this for? The Vakari had sought forever. The Union had sought power. The younger races had sought safety. But the humans? They had only ever wanted one thing. To matter. It began on a small world, Naris 3, once scarred by Union bombing runs. Now human engineers worked beside alien villagers to rebuild the wells, the homes, the schools. No flags. No speeches. Just quiet hands. An alien elder asked a human worker, why are you doing this? We once bombed your people. The worker replied, because tomorrow should be better than yesterday. And because we don't forget. But we forgive when you're ready. From orbit, the stars look the same. But the galaxy below was shifting. Humanity was no longer feared for its weapons. It was respected for its will, not just to survive, but to stand back up, to carry pain and still move forward, to love. Even when love was broken, to fight, yes, but never just for themselves. In the Galactic Council, one by one, species removed the old war laws. They wrote new ones based on the Earth Codex, a book once written by human soldiers who had survived the worst. It began with 5 words: all life has a voice. Some protested, some refused. But the galaxy no longer followed orders from fear. It followed example. And Earth, once called wild, once labeled dangerous, had become something else. A mirror. It showed others who they were, and who they could be. In a quiet Earth museum built after the Union collapse, visitors walked through halls filled with names. No statues of war heroes. No banners of glory. Just names. Humans. Aliens. Children. Elders. Enemies. Friends. Everyone who had been lost when the galaxy forgot how to listen. Corin Black was finally released. He stepped onto Earth again with slow steps and quiet eyes. A reporter asked, "Do you regret anything?" He looked at the stars. Only that it took so long for the galaxy to hear us, and that some of us had to die to be believed. Far in the frozen mountains of a Valkyrie world, a child ran with snow in her hands. Not data, not crystals. Just snow. Her father watched and said she chose not to upload. Her mother smiled. She said she wants to fall in love first. Union archive, once closed, reopened. Inside, they placed a sign: "We remember. We will not hide again." Earth's silent fleet did not vanish. It remained, not as a threat, but as a promise. A shield for those who had none. Its ships flew over refugee convoys, not cities. Over healing grounds, not battlefields. And every ship bore the same 3 words: "We still remember." In a classroom on the moon Vetrax, an alien teacher showed her students a small stone with writing on it. It had once been picked up from the site of the burned human colony Virith 12. The stone said, "We didn't want forever, just to be seen." That was what shook the galaxy. Not power. Not violence, but the human wish to matter, even for a moment. To be remembered. To be real in a universe so wide and cold. In the end, immortality did not fall, but it softened. Those who once lived only in code chose to feel again. To touch the wind. To grow old. To be alive. A new monument was built on Earth. Not tall. Not shining. Just a bench. Carved into the back were the final words of the Earth Codex. You wanted to live forever. We just wanted to matter. And under the stars that night, 1,000 species looked up, and for once, saw themselves together, not ruled. Not forced, just aware. Of pain. Of loss, of love, of life, and of the humans who reminded them what all of it truly meant.